Hi there. I have Shayna Beeksma from Beeksma Law with me here today. Shayna was actually coming out for a meeting, and we thought we'd do an impromptu video because Shayna's part of my my A team. When I was forming HomeShare Alliance, I really wanted to have an extension of the community of business professionals where I can refer my clients to. There's always different situations that happen, whether it's personal support that an elderly person needs, or even something as simple as estates and wills. That's something that Shayna specializes in.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit of back history about Shayna. I met her earlier this year, and we met for coffee.
Yeah.
And I think we just somehow connected. And the one thing with Shayna that I share as well too, that we seem to have a lot of similarities, is that we're very driven. We're very ambitious.
Yes.
We have that enthusiasm. We're both entrepreneurs. And the other sort of connection that we have is that we really truly care. We care about that work-life balance. We care about our clients, and we care about what we do, that quality service that we provide. And there's a lot of meaning and purpose. I remember we had a really good discussion when we first met, and I thought right away, I said, okay, I want Shayna on my team.
Yes. The feeling was mutual.
Yeah, oh good. That's good to know.
Yes.
So even with estates and wills, that's something that a lot of people don't really talk about. And I know we were talking earlier about how most people, more than half, they don't have a will, that pertains to their estates in case something were to happen. And unfortunately, it can be very tragic, enough to go through that situation for the family to deal with, but as well too, what happens when you don't have a will. So Shayna, if you can explain a little bit more about scenarios, maybe a little bit more about your business and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tara. So my name is Shayna, as Tara just mentioned, Shayna Beeksma, and I've been practicing for 6+ years, and I specialize in estates, real estate, and corporate commercial. And in particular, most of my files, most of my workload, most of my expertise is in estate law, specifically estate administration, estate planning, and estate litigation. And I'm located in Hamilton at 100 Street East on the ground floor, just across from the GO station. And I'm at 905-522-1234. So a little bit about estates in terms of nuggets that folks are not typically aware of. As Tara was just mentioning, many Canadians, in fact, most Canadians, do not have a will. And many people don't realize the consequences of that. So a common refrain is that, okay, so the government gets everything. That's not true. In fact, the government only gets your estate if there's absolutely no blood relation left that could possibly take your estate. Now, that may lead folks to say, well, why would I just not have a will and then it goes to somebody? I just don't care who it goes to. The reality is that, number one, the cost of that is quite prohibitive for many. It'll be at least $7,500 in legal fees alone, because you need a lawyer to do it, in terms of administering an estate without a will. And the reason for that is that you need a lot of court orders to get everything done. You cannot do anything without a court order in most of those cases, because we're assuming that you're dealing with property that isn't jointly held and other exemptions that would militate against needing to have a will. So that's the first thing, is that the cost can be prohibitive. Secondly, your estate may be going to folks that you didn't want it to go to. There are many people nowadays who have been separated but not divorced from their spouse for various reasons. And if you're still legally married, then your spouse still gets first chance at inheriting your estate. That is often an unintended and unwanted consequence. So another reason that estate planning is crucial. As well, if you're looking at a second marriage or even a first marriage and you already have a will and that will was not made in contemplation of that marriage, well, guess what? Your will is no longer valid once you get married, unless it specifically says that it's in contemplation of marriage to a specific person who you end up marrying. So again, you could think that you had a will 20 years ago, but now you're getting married and maybe your spouse had passed away, so you weren't concerned about them inheriting when they're not supposed to, and you just assume that your existing will take care of your kids and you don't have to think about it now that you're getting married again. That doesn't work.
Yeah, so basically if something happens and you had that previous will, basically you're passing away without a will.
Exactly.
Okay.
It would fall under the laws of intestacy, which means that you don't have a will. And then you're back at that steep legal bill that I mentioned earlier, minimum, to get your estate administered, and perhaps unintended consequences in terms of who your estate's going to. So there's a lot that folks don't realize that is covered by estate planning. That's why estate planning is so crucial, to ensure that your wishes are done after you pass away.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you can purchase these will kits, what
Mhm.
do you think about that?
You're asking for trouble. That's the reality.
Mhm.
The will kits will work if nobody, number one, nobody contests anything to do with your estate. Otherwise, good luck in getting those wills to hold up in a court of law, because there are various deficiencies in them. Secondly, they don't contain everything needed in terms of the authority that your executor or estate trustee, is a term now, is needs to properly administer your estate. So when the will isn't clear, then you need a court order or an agreement by all of the beneficiaries. And so that's where will kits will fall short. And by the time your estate has to spend money on a court order, then you might as well have done a proper will with a lawyer, and make sure that your entire estate is administered in a tax efficient manner that also is streamlined, and you avoid the need for any court order at all in most cases. So it makes sense. It's a good investment of money, and it's good planning. It's a fraction of the cost. You'd be looking at, for instance, my firm's rate would be $750 for a couple in terms of both their wills and 4 powers of attorney, 2 per couple, power of attorney for property and power of attorney for personal care. It's really, a lot of folks may think that, oh, that's a lot of money, but when you look at $7,500 per estate if you die without a will, versus getting proper estate planning done at the beginning and have that in place, that you don't have to think about it again, that's well worth it.
Yeah, that seems very reasonable when you think about it, because even getting a will kit, you're actually making it more complex afterwards. So you're leaving with your family to be able to deal with that. So,
and you better have very straightforward assets that nobody's going to contest, and nothing needs to be done, nothing needs to be transferred or anything, which is highly unlikely in most scenarios.
Okay, wow. Well, I really appreciate that, Shayna. I've actually learned a few tidbits today, and that's really important to know, to pre-plan. I'm all about pre-planning.
Yes.
And even with home sharing, someone who's aging in place or retirement, thinking ahead of time, but even especially, it's critical for estates and wills. And I'm so glad that you're part of our team and be able to offer this advice and helping out our clients in general. But again, it's Beeksma Law.
Yes, beeksmalaw.ca is the website, and my email address as well is shayna@beeksmalaw.ca. Happy to be in touch with anyone who has an inquiry. And otherwise, thank you so much for having me today, Tara.
Okay, pleasure. Okay, thanks, Shayna.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.